Good evening, everyone. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Fred Brink, and I'm filling in this evening for Mayor Gary as he's out of the office recovering from a medical procedure. But I will call the February 4th, 2025 meeting of the West Richland City Council to order at 6 p.m. Before we get started, I'll ask our city clerk, Stephanie Haug, to read the ground rules for the hybrid meeting and then call the roll, please.
Thank you. Tonight's meeting will be held in person with a virtual meeting component. If you are participating virtually, please make sure the name shown at the bottom of your video view is the name you would like the Mayor Pro Tem to use. You can change this by right-clicking on your video view and selecting Rename. Audience members present in the council chambers will be called upon first during public comment periods. Those participating remotely should virtually raise your hand if you wish to speak. To virtually raise your hand, click on Participants and then click on Raise Hand. If you are participating by phone only, press *9 to raise your hand. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Roll call. Richard Bloom.
Here.
Fred Brink.
Here.
David Fetto.
Here.
May Hayes.
Here.
Kate Moran.
Present.
John Smart.
Here.
Ben Stoker.
Here.
Move to excuse Mayor Gary.
Second.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Councilmember Moran, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilmember Moran. Council, we have an agenda before us. Are there any changes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Council, we have no presentations this evening, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of approving the minutes from the regular meeting of January 21, 2025, and the workshop that was held on January 28, 2025. We have Resolution 05-25, authorizing the mayor to sign a security and improvement agreement. We have Resolution 0625, authorizing the mayor to execute the First Amendment to the Interlocal Cooperation Agreement regarding sewer extension I-Plant to RSD project with Richland School District and 7HA Family LLC. We have Resolution 0725, setting the public hearing date to consider vacating 30 feet road right-of-way along the southern boundary of short plat number 2880. We have Resolution 0825, authorizing the mayor to execute interlocal cooperation agreement regarding the Flat Top Transit Transfer Station between West Richland and Ben Franklin Transit. We have Resolution 0925, adopting the amended legislative priorities for 2025. Resolution 1025, authorizing the mayor to execute the fourth amended and restated interlocal agreement for Benton County Emergency Services. We have a motion to approve the lease agreement for police department vehicles. Motion to approve the final plat of Red Mountain Multi-Use Phase 2, file number PLAT 015-2024. Motion to approve the final plat of the Heights at Red Mountain Ranch phases 6 and 7, file number PLAT 018-2024. Finally, a motion authorizing staff to apply for a Benton County Rural County Capital Fund grant for sewer extension plant, I-Plant to RSD project. Is there anyone from the audience who would care to comment on tonight's consent agenda? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, is there anyone attending virtually who would like to comment on the consent agenda? If so, please raise your virtual hand. City clerk will then unmute you, state your name and city of residence for the record, and you may provide your comments. You may also press star 9 to raise your hand via telephone. I see no one wishing to speak. Stephanie, do you see anyone?
I do not.
Council, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Council Chair says aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're moving on now to our first opportunity for citizen comments for items not on the agenda. If you wish to make comments, please come to the podium and kindly state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to provide your comments. I'd just like to remind everyone that chooses to speak that council cannot respond to any questions that you might pose during the comment period, and that the time frame for comments is now for items not relating to items on the agenda, as we ask for comments about agenda items when they're presented. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to make comments? Please step to the podium. Seeing none, is there anyone attending virtually who would like to provide a comment? If so, please raise your virtual hand. The city clerk will unmute you, and you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments. Once again, please state your name and city of residence for the record. You may also press star 9 to raise your hand via telephone. I see no one virtually that wishes to comment. Stephanie, do you see anyone? All right. Seeing no one, we will move on to ordinances, resolutions, and so forth. First item, items 8A and 8B are a public hearing and resolution regarding a utility easement vacation for file number VACA 003-2024. Planner Alicia Ransom will kindly present the staff report. Thank you, Alicia.
Good evening. This evening, the request from the applicant is to vacate a portion of a 10-foot sewer easement. They're vacating just a portion down to a smaller size, and then also to only a portion along the frontage, as you can see in the exhibit map in attachment 2 of your packet. The applicant is Shane O'Neill of Clover Planning on behalf of his client. The property owner, which is TTF West LLC. The subject property is located at 4365 West Van Giesen. You can see the vicinity map in your packet in attachment 3. The complete legal description is located in attachment 4. The staff routed the completed application to Franchise Utilities and gave 15 days to review, and the city received no objections to the proposal, and the Public Works Department approved the utility easement vacation. The Public Works worked with the applicant to decide on how that would be vacated to facilitate the future development of this lot. The staff recommends that council approve the vacation of the utility easement, as it will not unduly jeopardize the health, safety, welfare, or public good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ransom. I will now open the public hearing at 6:09 p.m. We'll hear in-person comments and then virtual attendee comments. If you're present here in the audience and wish to speak, I ask you to come to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to provide your comments. Yes, sir.
Shane O'Neill, Clover Planning. I represent the client. I'm the applicant. We're trying to develop this site with multifamily residential building, and the 10-foot sewer easement that we're vacating sits between the 10 and 20-foot mark. It occupies the 10 to 20-foot distance from the front property line. So where the sewer line hits a manhole on this property and bends into the roadway is where we're severing the easement, because East of that manhole, there is ability in the easement, and that would free up a little bit of extra room for this building to add the design features that are required by the design guidelines. And to maximize the use of this triangular parcel, it's a little bit difficult to fit the building in there. So we need as much room as we can towards the front, and provided we have a fire lane in the rear, taking up about 26 feet. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Is there anyone else present here tonight that would care to make comments? Seeing no one, is there anyone attending virtually who would like to provide a comment? If so, please raise your virtual hand. The city clerk will then unmute you, and you'll have 3 minutes to make your comments. Please begin with your name and city of residence for the record. You may press *9 as well to raise your hand via telephone. Is there anyone attending virtually that would like to comment? I see no one. Stephanie, do you?
I do not see anyone with their hand up. No.
Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing at 6:11 p.m. Council, do I have a motion?
I move to pass Resolution 11-25, authorizing the vacation of a portion of a 10-foot sewer easement for file VACA-003-2024.
Second. Councilmember Bloom.
My only question probably of Roscoe. I know the sewer line, we did a crossing of the irrigation canal there. This in no way impacts that?
Your memory's good, Councilmember Bloom. So this is the easement that the previous property owner deeded to the city to allow that sewer to be extended across the canal to Austin Drive. And rather than do a specific over the sewer line, they gave us an easement across their whole frontage. And so this is vacating the section that's not needed.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions from council? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Chair votes aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is item 8C, which is a resolution adopting changes to the city's proclamation policy. City Clerk Stephanie Hogg, will you kindly present the staff report?
Thank you. So a discussion that was held last fall by the city council requesting some changes to the adopted proclamation policy. So you can see in your packet that the as Exhibit A to the resolution is the proposed changes to the policy, which will essentially remove the section that says with the consent of city council, and then removes that down below and the proclamation requirement, and then just leaves the key to the city request because that's all part of the same policy. So essentially this will go back to the way that it was before this formal policy was adopted, which was relied on the mayor to make those decisions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to comment on this item? If so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to make any comments. Seeing no one, is there anyone attending virtually that would care to provide comments on this matter? If so, please raise your virtual hand. City Clerk will unmute you, and you'll have 3 minutes to provide your comment. And once again, kindly state your name and city of residence for the record, or you may press *9 to raise your hand via telephone. I see no one virtually that wishes to make a comment. Stephanie, do you see anyone?
I do not.
All right, council, it's time for a motion. May I have one, please?
I move to,
Adopt Resolution 1225, amending the city's policy and procedures concerning proclamations and keys to the city.
second.
Council, any comments, questions? Councilmember Smart.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So maybe you're one of the ones that brought this up, and my recommendation was that the city just eliminate proclamations altogether. I appreciate the move to eliminate council from approving proclamations, but but unfortunately, this policy of the city still leaves us in a position of potential, I don't know, jeopardy, liability, not just confusion, but also potential consternations among probably many members of our public versus whatever the proclamation may be. As I think about this, historically, perhaps it's been quaint to allow mayors and cities to make proclamations and to have ceremonial documents issued in favor of one group or another. But today, and probably for the last several years, if not decades, it seems like it puts the city in a potential area of jeopardy where a group, which may be not entirely favored by the entire population of the city, comes to the city and asks for a proclamation to declare them to be, their day or whatever it might be. And so the mayor would then be placed in a position where he would have to decide to either turn them down and make that group of people upset, or approve them and make a whole nother group of people upset. And to me, it seems that having the ability to create proclamations, first of all, I don't really see it as a function of a modern city government. And I think it opens the door for problems. Whereas having there be no proclamations and let the city just do its own business and stick to that business, and maybe allow the Chamber of Commerce or some other organization, provide proclamations of support to various organizations, seems like a much wiser course to me, because I can think of dozens, literally, of organizations that could easily come to us and ask us or the mayor for proclamation, and we would be put in a spot, in a bind. So this is a move in the right direction, but it's not enough for me to support. And I'm afraid that if I support this particular amendment, that'll be taken as an indication of my approval that mayors should still be allowed to make proclamations. So I don't plan to support this for that reason, and I hope that we can come back with a different solution to this problem, which my suggestion is just to eliminate it and let those days be bygone days. Thank you.
Councilmember Bloom.
Well, if you read the last sentence under proclamations, it says proclamations are strictly honorary and they are issued as a courtesy. Well, it's not the last sentence, but almost the last sentence. In addition, they are not legally binding and do not constitute an endorsement of the city of West Richland. I do not believe, I believe what this has done is put it in par with some of the other cities, because I believe Richland, for the example that comes to my mind, was the mayor of Richland issued a proclamation when we dedicated the new Ben Franklin Transit building, and whoopee-doo. It was significant. We tore down a 45-year-old building and put up a new one. I think what this does is it reduces, by removing council approval, it reduces some of the emphasis of it. It's a proclamation. I proclaim it might snow tomorrow, type of day. So it's not going to snow. But no, I think it to some extent reduces the emphasis, and I think you're placing more emphasis on it's a mayoral proclamation, and that's about it. And we as a city are not accounting for it.
Councilmember Stoker.
Yeah, first the question, I guess, to Stephanie. How would these be made public to the general population?
So there's an option on the actual application of how the requester would prefer to receive it. We issue proclamations for new businesses, and a lot of times that they're presented to them at their grand opening. You'll see at the very bottom of the first page of the exhibit that part of this comes with an automatic invitation to whatever event they are maybe requesting the proclamation for. But there is opportunity for, if they wish to have it presented at a council meeting, they can request that. But it would still be at the mayor's discretion to allow. Sometimes that doesn't work for timing as far as getting on the meeting agenda if we already have things scheduled. So.
Well, I guess that last part's the one that I have problems with, is that, if the city council is no longer giving consent, I'm not sure I want it presented at a council meeting personally. I think, if you want to put it on the Facebook page or city website, I have no problem with that in the end, but to use council meeting for something that's not technically council business, to me, is not appropriate. And secondly, we use a lot of great words here: recognize, celebrate, honor, extraordinary, importance and significance, noteworthy, historically, kindness or generosity. And then at the end, we try to downplay all of that by saying we have no legal, this is not an endorsement, this is nothing. So, we're trying to say a nothing burger out of a whole lot of things. So to me, it's a very contradictory situation. So I am also probably not in favor of supporting this at this time then.
Councilmember Moran.
Thank you very much. I agree with Councilmember Bloom in that I think that it's important to remember that these have been done for years, and they're done by most cities and counties. And I like that removing the proclamation from the council, it feels as if it would remove some of the politicization. That's the right way to say it, right? Yeah, make it less political. It seems like it might remove some of the politics behind it and make it easier that way. But I don't think that it would be something that we would want just to remove proclamations entirely from the city. I think that they do have a purpose. They are a low to minimal cost. So I like the way this was written.
Thank you. Councilmember Fetto.
Thank you. Just want to, under the key of city, the with consent of city council has not been stricken from this document.
Correct. For the key to the city, that would still require the consent of the council because it is a more prestigious thing, and it does have additional cost.
Okay. I just want to make sure that wasn't just an oversight. Thank you.
Correct.
And before I turn back to you, Councilmember Smart, I'll make my comments as a council member as well. I think back to a meeting that we had several months ago where we debated the wording of a proclamation. We wordsmithed it for about 40 minutes. And what bothered me about that was we have 7 of us, city clerk, city attorney, 4 department heads, and that's 14 people that were tied up to debate what turned out to be the removal of 1 sentence. To me, that's an extraordinary waste of time. So 14 people, 40 minutes, that's about 9 man-hours, or single person work for a whole day on a proclamation, which consists of about 4 or 5 paragraphs that start with whereas, and the last one ends with now therefore. We don't need a committee of 7 to come up with a proclamation. I have full faith and confidence in the ability of our mayor and our city staff to appropriately word a document that will neither offend nor cause individuals to develop angst. As a matter of fact, in my 8 years on council, I've yet to have a single citizen come up to me and complain about the wording of a proclamation. It's never happened. So I fully support and encourage my fellow council members to embrace this change. It is an action of the mayor. If the mayor makes a mistake in the wording, it's on him or her. And that's how I look at it. And as far as presenting them in city council, I fully agree with that. We swear in police officers here. That's not council business. It's not necessarily part of the agenda, but we do it. We do it because it's a public recognition of the work and the service that these individuals are going to provide for our city. So the bottom line is, I agree with this. I look forward to approval of it by my fellow council members. Thank you. Turn back to you, Mr. Small.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I just wanted to comment on the, and just bring it to council's attention, that although we have not been skewered by these proclamations in the past or held liable for them, that I don't want to, I could point out pointed examples of opposing groups of people, neither of which we would want to take sides on. I understand a proclamation is not binding per se, but it certainly is a fact that if the mayor puts his name on a statement that says, I really think that this group is great or that group is great. You know, one of the reasons we have groups and organizations in our society, not everybody belongs to every group, right? So that means that some large portion of people may belong to a group, Mariners fans versus, you know, Red Sox fans. I wouldn't want to see the mayor be put in a spot where he has to say, you know, I declare this to be the year of the Red Sox, you know? I mean, and if they don't, if that's proposed to them and they say, no, sorry, we don't support the Red Sox here, then, you know, in other words, you're bifurcating the community. And I don't really think that the mayor should be put in that position, or the council. So I'm not saying that proclamations wouldn't be well written. What I'm saying is that we put ourselves at risk of being approached by groups who, frankly, maybe not all of us support, and probably not all of the community supports. And yet, as a government, we're out there saying, whether it's binding or not, that we support this group or the other. You know, almost every group you can name, I can probably name today an opposing group, even up to and including Boy Scouts. You know, there are competing groups out. And so I guess I just want to say that I'm looking at this with the future in mind and with the well-being of the city in mind. And I think that if a group wants to expand on their public advertising or be recognized, that there are other ways to be recognized in our community that don't involve the government. That's what we are. We are the city government. And so I'm just cautioning us that I think it would be a good idea just to let this one go. But that's my say. I'm not saying they won't be well done. I'm just saying it puts us in a liable position. It puts us in a potentially difficult position. And so let's say you have a proclamation come forward to you and the mayor says, well, no, you group X, I don't really want to support that. Well, what are they going to do? Are they just going to take it and go like, okay, fine? Or are they going to go to the Tri-City Herald and make a big fuss about it? I don't know, but I'm saying that this puts us in that potential position. And I really don't see it as a critical function in government. So that'll be my piece on that. Thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you, Councilmember Smart. I see no other comments, so I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
And Councilmember Stoker and Councilmember Smart vote nay. Motion carries. Now is the time for second citizen public comment. And if anyone would care, we have no new business nor any unfinished business, so we will go to the second public comment period. If there's anyone present tonight that would like to make a comment, please step forward to the podium. Kindly ask that you state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name's Chuck Shealy. I live at 65-104 North 46th Avenue. I owe you an apology. I came and spoke to you in November. I must have done a terrible job of transposing my thoughts. I never received comment from anybody. No call, no contact, staff, nobody. We do have a serious issue here in town. To give you a little background, I'm born and raised here. I'm a lifer, not in a prison term, but in a West Richland term. I've never lived further than walking distance to the city limits. It's very frustrating to watch the city ignore gross negligence and not deal with the problem before it costs us human life. And that's the situation we have going on in the golf course. My grandparents came here in 43. My grandfather worked on the Manhattan Project. When he moved to West Richland, he bought the Brotherhood subdivision and put in a community park. It's still named for him. This is 9 decades later. I have family roots here. I feel great about the city prospering intelligently and smoothly, but it's not being done. Whether you call it negligence, whatever you want to call it, the city allowed the driving range to be installed and a concrete wall making a dam without permits on either process. There was no engineering, there was no oversight, no review. FEMA wasn't acknowledged about it. Now you've developed, by those 2 projects being completed, you've made a mile-long, 20-foot wide mosquito breeding pond. And we have West Nile here in Benton County. It was discovered years ago. It scares the heck out of me to think of some child in our town getting stuck with West Niles because of the mosquito problem, because this problem hasn't been resolved. And it's all of about maybe a 4 to 6 hour project with a decent operator and a piece of equipment to take both projects out, at least cure the symptom. It's very frustrating not to see anything done about it. I've been through Eric and Roscoe both. Eric was very nice. He called. We had a conversation. He said he'd do his due diligence, and I received a phone call from him about a week later. He explained to me that one of your staff was about to retire, and he told him that the concrete dam had been in the drainage for as long as he could remember. Well, I used to fish there when I was a kid.
I'm sorry, your 3 minutes are up. So if you
Okay,
could-
thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present that would like to make a comment? All right. Seeing no one, is there anyone attending virtually who would also like to provide a comment? If so, you may raise your virtual hand. City Clerk will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes to provide your comments. Please begin with your name and city of residence, and you may also press *9 to raise your hand via telephone. I do not see anyone attending virtually that wishes to comment. Stephanie, do you?
Not.
Okay. We'll now move on to staff and council announcements, and I'll start with staff reports. Community Director Mendenhall, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Brink, members of the council. I just want to give you a report on what might be going on in the neighborhood. So Dutch Brothers, I believe, received their certificate of occupancy today. So I would imagine that there's going to be long lines forthcoming at their new shop. So that's exciting to see. If you haven't heard, they've also signed an agreement with Miss Tamales to be located next door to them. So we'll have a wonderful burrito shop to go and eat at. We've received the tenant improvement application for the new, the over in Paradise and Bombing Range, the white commercial development that's over there, those white buildings. We received an application for Aki Sushi. So we'll have a sushi restaurant, a different flair for West Richland other than the pizza and tacos that we're used to. So it'll be wonderful. And then the city entered into a purchase and sale agreement just a couple weeks ago. The council authorized the mayor to sign that, and that is for a restaurant that is located here, that will be located here in the Belmont Business District. So that's on the other side of the street, across from the gas station on one of those properties there. So exciting, a lot happening there. There's a lot of development going on in our community right now. So as you drive around, it's kind of fun to see, and our community is definitely taking on a different shape.
Thank you, Mr. Mendenhall. Mr. Slade.
And Firehouse Sub opened up on Saturday, so we got Firehouse Sub back. So just letting council know, the next council meeting on the 18th, you'll have an ordinance that amends a section of municipal code that deals with regulations at our park. So this is something from those petitions and stuff and all those residents and students that came back in July. So we've spent the last, 5 months with our risk pool insurer representative with WCIA, a lot of time with Jessica reviewing stuff. And I think we've got a compromise to be able to allow youth fishing and non-motorized boats. It's got some conditions to make sure to mitigate city liability, but it's gone through Park Board, Park Subcommittee. And so I think everybody should be fairly pleased at the outcome. So look forward to that on the 18th coming before council.
Thank you. Council comments. Councilmember Hayes.
You, Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to talk about, we had a trip to Olympia, the Tri-City Legislative Council. It was a great day over in Olympia, and it was really exciting that the council of governments, or not governments, the Tri-City Legislative Council, put the veteran cemetery as one of the priorities for this region. So that was huge. And we had David there talking and giving what really is happening with the cemetery to this point. It's exciting. Things are moving forward. There's more publicity going. And thanks for Keith. It was great to see the West Richland Chamber there. It's just wonderful to see what all's happening in this region, all the other things that were brought up, all the other priorities, but with working with people over there, we just a heads up, we be able to know where the location is going to be in April of this year. So that will be exciting, and then we can move forward in getting all the necessary stuff we have to do to whatever the land is, to bring in the power and to bring in the water, all that, what we're going to do with that. But it's exciting. It's support from the state and from the federals on this. Bring up that on February 15th, the West Richland Senior Center is having a spaghetti feed as a fundraiser. I would love to see the community really get behind the senior center, and it's a spaghetti feed, donation only, and we've tried to put some other fundraising things together for the senior center. So I encourage people to come out. It's from 2 to 4 and show the support for the West Richland Senior Center. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Hayes. I see no other comments, so I will adjourn the meeting tonight at 6:39 p.m. Thank you all.